Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself today. It's a beautiful day. I know it's cold in some areas, but I always tell people don't allow the environment to determine your mood. So no matter what degree of weather you are in or you find yourself in, it's still a beautiful day. Why? Because you got the strength to wake up this morning. Alrighty, I want to welcome all of us to Leadership Academy, and I know today is going to be a continuation of what we've already started. It's an exciting one. It's a difficult one too, because it's a very emotional topic we're discussing. It actually borders on lives, properties, and the future of Africa as a whole. So it is very emotional. But again, on this platform, we don't entertain insults. No matter how emotional you are a rational human being. So you have to put your emotions in a check. We have that responsibility. So we entertain diverse opinions. If you have any different opinion than what we are talking about here, we want to encourage you to respectfully table your differences and let's discuss it, because we believe that we don't argue on this platform, we discuss on this platform. Without much ado, our usual, I call it disclaimer. It's not a disclaimer, but it's our usual, should I say, slogan? Maybe. Creativity and inventions are not done by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. I want to repeat. Creativity and inventions are not done by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. As you've been on, those of you who were with us for the past few weeks, you've realized that we've migrated from Facebook Live. We're now on YouTube Live. So, but we're going to put the link on Facebook. So those of you who are Facebook fanatics, you can still join us through Facebook, or you can still be a part of the discussion or the conversation on Facebook. Without much ado, I want to allow my co-pilot to introduce himself, and then we will get the ball rolling.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Kwadwo Frimpong, and I'm also a servant of Seto Afriwick. I am here for us to discuss some of the most pressing needs of the African, both at home and in the diaspora. And this particular one is very dear to my heart because it is the basis on which almost all our problems revolve. If we can solve even 20% of corruption in Africa, I bet you 90% of our problems will self-resolve, because it is the lack thereof of funds that are meant to actually develop our nations, ending up back in the diaspora, getting out of the country, being misappropriated by individuals for themselves instead for their communities, that really makes Africa the way it is today. So it is my prayer and it is my hope that as the days goes by, as our future continues to evolve, people will pay attention to the cancer of corruption, which has infested every aspect of our communal existence. So let's delve in, let's look at what I term excuses, for our inability to tackle the most salient of our issues, That's what I'm going to say as my opening salvo. So yeah, you're welcome. Come and join us. Thank you.
Yes, that's Mr. Professor Kojo Ewuwa from Pong. I mean, he is very ready today because, like I said, this is a very emotional topic, and as he already said, it's the bedrock on which our development as a people it's pinned. So it is very, very important. We're talking about corruption in Africa, and as we spoke about it last week, talking about corruption, bribery, and it's a component of the whole bigger picture of corruption. I know, excuse me, the moment we talk about corruption, the next thing that comes into the minds of people is bribery, which is a bigger component of corruption. But then there are various, we spoke about, even when you take a position, when you know that you are not capable of administering or delivering in that capacity, it is corruption. If you know that you cannot deliver what is expected of you, but for some reasons known to yourself, you decide to take up that position, it's corruption. Because you're robbing the people of somebody else who has the ability to deliver. So when we talk about corruption, it's lack of moral principles. That's what it is. It's lack of moral principles. And we're going to talk about the African culture of giving. As most people, let me put it this way, some politicians are polluting the minds of people to believe that our African culture of giving is somehow, I wouldn't say an incentive, but it's part of the reasons why we cannot differentiate between a gift and a bribe. So today we're going to look at some of these things, and I'm having some technical difficulties here, so I'm going to have Prof kickstart it. Whilst he goes, I'll try to solve this issue here. It's on Facebook, so I'll try to fix it quickly, and then I'll jump in. So Prof, over to you.
Yeah, Nana, I have a friend in Virginia. He's called Kofi, but you know how people are. He used to say that the difference between a bribe and a gift is the time it is given, okay? If you give me any money before I start doing a job, or if the money is not for the job, it's an incentive to push me to do the job, that is a bribe. But if after I have executed a certain job to perfection, and you feel the need to thank me with any gift, that is actually a tip. I beg to differ. I understand where he is coming from, which is basically the truth. But the intent to which any gift is given to a person makes it a bribe or a tip. Okay? If I want to influence you to circumvent, lay down procedures, rules, and regulations that should automatically, naturally accompany the execution of your own duties as a citizen of a country, or as an official in the capacity of making sure all citizens are treated equally, that's a bribe. It doesn't matter what time I give it to you. That's a bribe. If the intent is to actually influence you to circumvent or change the rules that should accompany the way you do your job, that's a bribe. It's as simple as that. So whether I give it to you 10 years from now or 20 years before you do the job, It doesn't matter, because I have this intent that maybe in the future you are going to give me preferential treatment. That makes it a bribe. Okay. Now, tips, gifts, whatever you want to call it, they are institutionalized everywhere in the world. No, there is nobody in this world who doesn't like somebody to say thank you. All of us love that. To what intent do you want me to say thank you? Is it for doing my job the right way? Or is it for me circumventing the systems in place so that I give you preferential treatment, and in doing so, I also get preferential treatment? That is where, when they talk about culture as being a precursor, our culture, our and let's call it what it is. This is just an excuse. Okay, it's just an excuse, but I am going to play along. Let's say the African is the only person or the only culture that allows giving. Let that it's not, that is not what it is, but that's what I'm going to say. Oh, it's only in Africa that we like to give gifts. Why is it that a gift becomes a precursor to a bad thing? You know me, I always go back to our cultural underpinnings, which you can really interpret from our idioms, our norms, our practices, long before the colonial master came to Ghana. What is the cultural significance of a gift? Does it have a positive connotation or a derogatory connotation? When you take a gift to the king, the connotation is what? Positive. Okay, when we talk about a gift, look at our culture. People are saying, "Oh, the African likes to bribe because it's because of the culture of giving." I'm giving them that benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's because of giving. What is the connotation of a gift? Everywhere in the world, when we say gift, it has a positive connotation. That is why they say you do not look a gift horse in the mouth. You don't criticize it. You don't you don't try to scrutinize a gift. You just accept it because it is given in good faith. And the connotation here is positive. Now, when you take something that does not belong to you, or you accept something that you should not accept, go back to our culture and look at the connotation for that. Okay, the simple explanation in our culture for that is that you are a thief. And there is nowhere in the African culture that a thief is lauded or held in high esteem. There is nowhere in our culture that a thief is lauded or held in high esteem. So all these explanations that we are giving for our culture, I would like somebody to give me one cultural instance on the whole of the African continent where a gift had a negative connotation, or when somebody who shouldn't take something that does not belong to him took it and he was applauded or given a promotion. Way back culturally, it doesn't exist. So first and foremost, I would like to disabuse people's minds that corruption has nothing to do with our culture. It never existed. The little research that I have done on this issue of corruption being related to our culture of giving is that on the whole of the African continent, it is very rare to have a name in our indigenous language for the word corruption. Why? Think about that. The word corruption does not exist universally in the Afrikaans language. Always there is an exception to the rule. Lesotho has a word for corruption. is the only indigenous word that I came across on the African continent for the word corruption. And the word is sebolu. And the word sebolu means spoiled thing, something that is spoiled. So somebody who is corrupt is called bobulu, okay? And the word has a very serious negative connotation. Somebody who is called a sebolu is treated with disdain. Look up the word disdain, okay? Such a person was treated with disdain, which is worse than disrespect. So it is not surprising that when all the organizations that look at corruption across the world, when they look at Lesotho's corruption index, it is one of the best in Africa, because the person who is corrupted has no social standing in that culture. But when you look at the rest of Africa, you find out that we really don't even know what the word corruption is. It is a modern term to us. So somebody stealing from the communal playground and somebody shuffling paper in a government office and being rich, there's a lot of social differences between the two. That's why we see the thief in Abuja, or the thief in KJTia, or the thief somewhere in Senegal, and we instantly kill the person, because we understand what the meaning of stealing is. But then government officials, individuals within organizations can shuffle papers and do official corruption and become so rich, and we do nothing to them because we don't really know what corruption is. The African, pre-colonial African, did not even have a word for the word corruption. I hope we've had this discussion before, but Swahili is an amalgamated language that was made up so that the African can talk to the European. There is another word for corruption in Swahili, but it's not indigenous. And that word, as it is used, is called infisadi, the corrupt one. And where did infisadi come from? It comes from the reputation of the hyena. What does the hyena do? The hyena does not kill. The hyena is like the vulture. When somebody else has killed, it will appropriate the kill to itself. It will come, the hyena will come in their big numbers and intimidate you and take your kill. We talk about the lion being the king of the jungle. Believe me, when 100 hyenas show up at the kill, either the lion has the ability to defend itself or it runs away. Unless the lion is with its pride, and the pride is a big number, the hyena will take away the kill of the lion. And that's what the hyena do. So if we have a word for corruption in Swahili that is derived from the reputation of a hyena, does it have a positive connotation or a negative connotation? So even culturally speaking, when people want to associate corruption in Africa to our culture, every instance that I can give you gives a negative connotation of corruption. The hyena is not a revered animal in Africa. Its reputation is bad. So if you have a word for corruption that comes from the reputation of the hyena, and the fisi is for somebody who is unscrupulous, greedy, and ruthless. Infa, seedy. The infa is from the hyena. The seedy is from somebody who is greedy, unscrupulous, and ruthless, just like the hyena. So vis-a-vis this issue of, oh, we are corrupt because we like our cultural giving practices. No, it's not true. So that is the first thing I'm going to say about our culture and corruption. If anybody tells you that it comes from our culture of giving, first ask the person, what instance does giving in Africa has a negative connotation? They will not find it. They can do all the research they want to do. Pre-colonial Africa, when you give something, it was for meritocracy. You doing something beyond what you are expected. And those were the people that were promoted in society. Doing something beyond what is expected. You are given a gift, either of something important or a position for you to become more elevated in the society. So it has nothing to do with the word corruption. And then, apart from Lesotho, I mean, there are many, many other languages, smaller languages that maybe have a word for corruption. Let's come to Ghana, to the Asante Kingdom, where I hail from, that I understand. The word for corruption, which is dream, katase she. They were made recently. It is just a phrase, katase she. It means that it is under the bed. Kete asi she. Okay, under the mat, under the bed. You tell me if this has a positive connotation. It doesn't. And back in the day, it was used for dubious deals between people, secret arrangements. That was what it was used for. It is just recently that we use it for corruption, because we don't have a word for corruption. Just as so many other indigenous tribes and kingdoms did not have to worry about corruption. They didn't. So there was no word for it, apart from Lesotho. And the word in Lesotho is so disgraceful that you will be treated with contempt if you are called a Sebulu. So culturally speaking, please, let's move away from thinking that our culture of giving, and no, it's not true. That's the number one thing I'm going to say. We will go more into it as we go along, because I know that they will come back and say, oh, but when you go to see the chief, you need to present something to the chief and all that. We can go into that. I know you are ready now, so I will let you go on before I come back too. I think you are muted.
Thank you. I was just going to add a little to what you said about giving not being only an African cultural thing. I mean, worldwide. I looked at giving in Japan, giving in China, giving in America, you know, and you come across 3 dimensions of giving. One for self-gratification. When sometimes people feel excited, they want to give out something, they want to give a gift, they go out there. Apart from the spiritual, because there's some aspect of spiritual giving where people do give to satisfy certain spiritual demands. That's not what we're talking about. But when you look at giving throughout the cultures, you realize 3 dimensions of giving comes across: the self-gratification, and the giving for meeting a need, and the giving for appreciating something somebody has done. So this 3 runs through all the givings in every culture, you know. But then one thing that also struck my mind was the fact that the principles and the ethics that are adapted within the systems and certain setups, you know, is what I believe we lack in Africa. You know, it's not a bad thing to give a gift. I remember, I believe it's Professor Mills. You know, at the end of the year, the presidency is giving some gifts at the end of the year. His tenure of office, he rejected the gift, you know, which technically is not a bad thing for him to accept the gift. But then I believe that it has something to do with his personal principles and his values, which he has set for himself, you know. So giving in itself is not bad. But one of the places I saw giving should be done in public. One of the cultures I've forgotten, giving has to be done in public. So technically all they're saying is, if you are giving to Mr. A and it's done in public, everybody knows it's a gift. And so you don't have to pay Mr. B back for giving you anything, you know? So I believe that the principles and the values, the ethics that are set up within the institutions is what draws the line between giving and bribery. You know, when you take some of the jobs we do here, you can't even take a gift of $50 from a contractor without reporting it to your manager. You don't even have to take it, just to avoid all the paperwork and all the going back and forth. You don't have to take it. Why? Because they think that if you take beyond a certain amount, it can influence you to do stuff for him or her, or to favor that person when it comes to certain biddings and tendering and what have you. You understand? So I believe that it's lack of the principles within our systems. You know, as you said, corruption goes beyond just the bribery. You know, it's just the mind of somebody who has no moral values. So in that sense, it doesn't matter whether the giving is for self-gratification, or it's for appreciation, or it's for meeting a need. It's still not going to have that social relevance because of the principles and the values we have in place. You know, there are people who would even do stuff for people, and in appreciating them would still refuse because of their personal principles. So my point is, why can't we have our politicians, people we have voted into offices, people we have entrusted power in their care, to be able to exhibit some of these qualities for us to know that these are people of principles, you know, instead of hiding under the guise of, oh, it was a gift. I mean, come on, sometimes let's be realistic. When people are given gifts of thousands, I don't know if you remember, I think the governor of Virginia, I've forgotten who, had a watch, a gift of a gold watch or something. You know, it became a whole issue. I think the wife almost went to jail for taking gifts. You see, these are systems that are serious about certain boundaries and putting ethics above any other thing for the betterment of the people. Because come to think about it, with like we spoke about it last week, $5 billion with a B every year going out of Africa.
And we can't account for it.
We can't account for it. And I'm pretty sure it's even more than $5 billion.
This is what we know.
This is what has been this is what has been tracked.
It's an estimate. It's not the amount.
And so my thing is, when we see the lack of amenities, when we see the schoolless schools, where kids had to go to school under mango trees, when we see hospitals with no beds where people are dying, when we see all of these things and we think about $5 billion going out of the continent every year, you know, it blows your mind. And so my thing is, I believe it's because we don't have people who are passionate about delivering results to the people they're serving. That's my point. That is why sometimes when people talk about, oh, I don't like the method of this person trying to catch a thief. Let me use that word, because I think you've given me the permission to use the word thief, because corruption was invented recently. You know,
we don't have.
You talk about, oh, I don't like the method of catching a thief. Come on. When people are dying because of this same thief, you know? So I think that lack of principles is rather the problem, it's rather the issue, and not the cultural value or the cultural system of giving. Because like we've established, all over the world, every culture gives. So we cannot hide under the curtain or behind the curtain of, oh, it is because of our African culture of giving. That is why we cannot even tell the difference between giving and bribery. And then like you said, the motive behind the giving is also another thing. If I'm giving to influence you to do something for me, trust me, people will take gifts, but you still cannot influence them to do stuff for you. People will take gifts. And even with the gifts, there should be some guidelines. You cannot take gifts beyond a certain amount without reporting to the tax agencies, because it's taxable. You know, gifts are taxable. So if you want to be...
All these are in our constitution.
You know what? That was the last thing I was going to look into, but I didn't get the opportunity to look into our constitution to find out if we have some of these measures to help us demarcate the gifts from bribery. I'm not sure, so I'm not going to speak to that.
Okay, I was going to remind you we've passed 30 minutes. I don't know if you are going to go forward or we may have to.
That's the thing. We have Papa Abeku on the line.
Let me say something and then we
if
can
you have any contribution or any divergent opinion, you can table it. Anything you want to say, you are welcome to contribute to the discussion. It's been like 6 million years since I saw this gentleman.
Let me see if I can turn on my light to begin with.
Yeah, you are really in the dark.
I didn't turn on my camera at all because I'm still I'm working actually, so
okay.
I'm kind of multitasking. But yeah, Goyo, like 4 million years.
Yeah.
Actually, so what I can say for now is I'm enjoying the discuss. I'm listening to wisdom from the two learned gentlemen. I mean, if it wasn't for Kojo, I didn't even know corruption wasn't even a word until recently.
Across the continent, we don't.
Yeah, but
it's very...
See, my take on corruption in Africa is a little confusing to me myself. So it's kind of hard for me to even explain to someone else how I feel about that word, because the branches are a lot. Responsibilities, you know, involves pretty much everybody, right? We always have this grievance or notion or perception that our leaders are corrupt. But sometimes when we sit back and actually critically analyze the whole concept of corruption, it's interesting to find out that we are all corrupt to begin with. We are most of the reason why our leaders are corrupt, because we encourage it, we gratify it, we enable them. Unfortunately, the system is so consuming that at a point, it's either you get frustrated for the rest of your life or you join the bandwagon. Case in point, majority of these people have schooled in a less corrupt environment, right? They lived in a less corrupt environment. They grew up in a less corrupt environment. But then when they get back to the Ghanaian system, they get so consumed with the fact that you either, and like you're saying, the concept of gifting in itself is very technical. Someone wants a project to be done. They need just 2 signatures on a proposal, and all you have to do in Ghana terms, all you have to do is to gift, and you get your signatories doing their job. If you don't, something that should take a week could take you 6 months. Steve Harvey made I don't know, I guess he thought it was a joke. It was a fun thing to say that in Ghana all you need is a couple $100, not being $100. You're going to pay $100 to police officers, but basically saying that all you need is a couple $100 in your car or in your wallet and you are good to go. Like, you have no problem with the law. He was looking at it from the fun part, the fact that it's liberal, but on the other hand, it was portraying some kind of impression on the people who don't live in Ghana or who don't know what Ghana is all about. But is it true? Unfortunately, yeah, it's true. All you need is to have some money in your pocket and you should be able to get away with murder, literally. You understand? So I feel like the concept of corruption, if we can ever tackle it, I don't know if we can ever tackle it. Like, I've been thinking about it for years and I still don't think there's a solution. But if we could ever do it, it starts not only from the top. Because until the grassroots understand that we don't have to enable the top, it will not work. It will not work because we enable them. That's the plain and simple truth, the hurtful truth. We enable them. We are the reasons why they do what they do. Because in the end, somebody at the bottom always benefits. You understand? So the more you can complain all you want, but there will be a section of the society who is also benefiting from this corruption. At this dispensation, okay? In the next dispensation, another section will be benefiting. And then those that are not benefiting now will be the ones running their mouth, making all the noise. There's corruption. As soon as things start to work their way silent, it seems that there's no more corruption, and the other group will also pick it up. So it's a whole lot of civic education that we need to put in place it should start from the grassroots. It should start from our curriculum, from our school system, from our music, from our entertainment, from our movies. These are the ways. All these political rhetorics and stuff, it's not working. We've been doing it for decades. It's not working. We need to find out. There must be some very simple way of indoctrinating our citizenry, but nobody is thinking about it. And like I said, it could be movies, it could be music, it could be our curriculum from KG, from kindergarten. Forget about the old
You've
ones.
already provided the solution. That's what it is. because it's been established that from year 1 to 7, if you really want to imbibe principles,
Any
values
principle, yeah,
into
that's when
any,
that's the formative years.
from
You
1 to
miss
7.
it,
So
you're done.
that is where the problem is.
Yep.
You see, so I really agree with you on the part that it's not just those in political offices, and even the homes. There's corruption. For those of you who were with us last week, we spoke about the fact that it's not just in politics, even the homes. And as you said, it has to start, I believe it has to start from the homes. The values, the principles we are imbibing into the kids. Parents trying to be fair. Unfairness at home gives the kid an impression of some level of corruption. You know, lying to the kids when you know that you are not going to buy the kid something, but just because you want the kid to stop crying, you tell the kid, hey, I'm going to buy you XYZ just for the kid to stop crying. These are some of the things that forms some of these corrupt minds or corrupt perspectives in the mindset of the kids. So as you said, if we can tackle it, it has to start from the schools, the curriculum, which we've already, it's like a dead horse here. We keep drumming it. And I always say that if any politician will emerge from me to get my attention, there are two things I would expect him or her to do. One, educational reforms. Two, constitutional reforms. Because in my opinion, these are the two major things that is hindering the progress of the African. You know, so when we're talking about corruption, it's not just in the political offices or in people in offices or places of power, but even in our schools, homes. Because I remember sometimes when we were in schools in Ghana, sometimes the class prefect who's been writing names for people, you don't speak vernacular. So you speak vernacular, you're going to be, your name is going to be written down, you're going to be whipped. And sometimes because you've been tipping the class prefect who's been writing down names, you'll be talking and he wouldn't write your name. You know, these are things kids pick from homes. So if we really want to fight corruption, or if we really want to, we cannot have a corrupt-less society. Even in America, corruption is, you know, some of the places we think don't have corruption, that is where the bigger corruption deals takes place, you know. But what we are saying is there has to be measures in place to deal with some of these things, which we don't have. And so in order for us to be able to confront this issue, we have to develop personal principles, moral principles. You know, there are people in Ghana who would refuse anything. I mean, I heard a politician saying everybody has a price. No, some people don't have prizes. Some people don't have prizes. And no matter what you do, they are not going to accept what you're giving to them in order for them to bend their principles. You know, so if we can develop these values and these principles and even understand them in the first place from our childhood, it should give us the basis for which we can change some of these corrupt practices. Especially, I know we most of the time narrow it down to bribery, but it's not just bribery alone, which is a form of corruption. But in our sense, the stealing from the coffers is what is killing the economy. And last week we spoke about the fact that Magufuli didn't borrow a dime from the international community, but he was building hospitals. He was providing beds to hospitals. He was building roads, schools. From what? From cleaning up the corrupt deals within Tanzania. You know, one of the gold deals he was able to retrieve over 20 billion kwacha back to the Tanzanian economy. You see, so these are some of the things. People of principles are some of what we're crying for. We need people who understand principles, who understands ethics, and they are going to be able to inject some kind of sanity into the system. Mr. Wu, were you going to say something?
Yes, I was going to say that the first thing we need to do is move away from the excuses that we give ourselves for not being able to fight corruption. I'm saying that it is cultural. If you saw what I put on my Facebook when you put this thing up, I say culture is dynamic. If the culture is not working, we change it. I mean, what we used to do 500 years ago in Ghana or in the Asante Kingdom or in the old Senegal Kingdom, we don't do them today. The culture has changed. So if it is not working for us, we better stop the excuses and giving reasons. I don't like people giving me reasons for why something is not working. It doesn't solve anything. I want to know what is to be done in order to make it work. But it seems that we are deviating from the topic for today, which is it our culture of giving that gives us this corrupt nature in Africa? And I hope anybody who has been listening to us can now confidently say that it is not. We are not the only people who give. And one of our disclaimers or mottos is that it is not just in Africa that these bad things happen. They happen everywhere. It is the systematic eradication or reduction in these negative things in other societies that make them develop. But we seem to accept it as this is the norm. And that's where our problem comes from, you know. And if we are going to do anything like the people of Lesotho have shown us, you first have to make it socially unacceptable. The people who are corrupt should pay a social price. My research told me that if people went to church and we know that we have a perception of them being corrupt and they are looked at in a certain way, they will stop. But if they are given the position of honor because they got money in the society, even though we can see that this is the source of their income, why do you think scamming and Sakawa and all that has become so rampant in West Africa of late? Simply because we don't even check the source of the income. We don't have a way to check. We don't. In America, if $10,000 get into your account, we are going to find out where it came from. We will find out where it came from. So all these things that you were talking about, like the way we are fighting this, the measures in place, the ethics, the ethos of the place, our cultural, and let's go back to our cultural underpinnings of how our systems worked before colonialism, before so-called modernization. And you will find out that this thing called corruption didn't exist. So don't.
You're on mute.
Mr. Wu, you're on mute.
Your microphone is corrupted.
You're on mute, Mr. Wu. All right. If you're able to purge your microphone off the corruption, you come back.
that would help too.
So going back to okay, continue. I realize you've been able to purge it off the corruption.
How to take it off? I don't know if I have to put the whole, because I'm on my phone. Next time I should be on my computer.
Oh, okay.
But the bottom line is we can go back to examples in our existence as Africans. and look. And if we cannot justify what is going on today, there's so much rampant, accepted level of corruption within our societies, there may be something is wrong, and we need to go back and recheck it. That is what we need to do. I know this topic is very big. We cannot exhaust it even in 1,000 settings, but I am cultural. I am cultured. I was raised by both parents and my grandparents. I know that our society looks disdainfully at a thief. Maybe it is time to bring it back. If we are talking about culture, if we are giving the excuse that this is our culture of giving that makes us corrupt, let's go back to the culture. Let's look at what was done to people who took things that were not theirs, who accepted gifts they were not supposed to accept in order to circumvent justice. Can I give you examples? Because I actually sat down and did this. If anybody is here who has never read Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, please go and read it. And look at how our societies were structured back in the day. The Igbo says that a titled man does not lie. What do you think they meant? Whenever the Igbo didn't have like kings and big, like all other people did back in the day, they were ruled by titled men. And becoming titled was a consequence of your repetitive actions or character. And whenever there was a problem, because it was an acephalous society, not with a particular head, it was the titled men who sat on the case. And their saying is that titled men do not lie. So if you have a case and you go to the titled men and they sat down and advocated the case, the whole society accepted the outcome because titled men don't lie. That is cultural.
Men of integrity.
Exactly. That is cultural. Now, let's go to the Yoruba. They were, the society was constructed like the Akan Confederacy. There was a big head who was the Alafin or the Oba, the king of Oyo.
Right.
In order to constrain his power, they had king makers known as the Oyo Messi. These people come together to choose the king. Incidentally, when I went to Dubai, their structure is exactly like the Akan kingdom, the Yoruba kingdom, the kingdoms of Africa that we used to have. Their structure today. And it is based on meritocracy. We have the royal families, but within the royal family, you have to merit. So the Oyo Messi, they will come together and give and make somebody the Oba. And if the Oba circumvented the laid down principles, do you know what they did to him? They will bring you an empty calabash. Or parrot's eggs to signify that you have done something that cannot be done. And according to their tradition, you cannot be deposed. You are the ultimate. They cannot disgrace the society by removing you from office. You will commit suicide. Once they bring you an empty calabash, you will commit suicide. That should tell you. So
technically, they are telling you to go commit suicide with the empty calabash.
For being corrupt. If, like, you do something like a travesty of justice, there is a dispute between two clans or two people over land, and you collect something and you don't use the
procedure, you will commit suicide. Incidentally, among the Japanese,
Mr. Prof, I would suggest that you halt there. We're going to continue next week.
Okay.
It looks
That's
like
what we are going
we've eaten into the time. We've taken, we promised 30 minutes, but we're going an hour. But I see Kofi Teria Kofi. That's my brother from another mother.
Yeah.
On the line. If you have something to say, any question, contribution, you're more than welcome to table it now before we draw the curtains down for today's Leadership Academy.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, and okay, good day, because I know we are from various continents on this platform. I would want to, my first comment is that it's unfortunate that we are having this number for the meeting. I think that we should find a way to get more people. We should bring colleagues on board. We should make this thing much more enthusiastic than it is now. I believe that it is on all of us. First of all, I'll blame myself as one of the people who actually has disappointed the group, because if we join often, we would have known that these are the things we have to do. The next time we are having this meeting, I would not want us to have this kind of number. We would have to work hard and make sure we increase the number, bring friends. We can open up to the public, share with friends to come on board. This is how we can get interested friends who are willing. We can share it on our Facebook page and make sure we get people on board. I believe in organization, and I believe that we cannot be sharing this information among the few of us who are here, because this information we are sharing among us, I don't know which of us these things are new to. So we are sharing information among ourselves, we those who know some of this information already. But I think there are a lot of people out there who see things from a different perspective. We need to bring them on board, and let's make sure that they become part of us, because it's necessary we do such things. If we are sharing this information among us, we are not doing anything much. And so that's my first comment. And then secondly, I would want to say that our culture has been corrupted to the extent that it makes it look like we don't have values, we don't have a culture, and people make mockery of some of the things our ancestors used to do in terms of culture to curb social deviance, corruption, and all those things. He's been corrupted to let us see them to be stupid, or let us see them to what do they mean by doing this and doing that. I mean, we are in this modern world. Why would you be doing such things? But if you look at the wisdom of, for instance, I was speaking with a journalist, an American journalist I met recently, who is a Ghanaian who has lived in the States for a very long time. And she was telling me, in those days, they tell us that when you whistle in the night, I mean, you are not supposed to whistle in the night. And they were telling us some stories and things like that. They didn't tell us the actual meaning. But then people were saying, oh, people were using whistles to call people's girlfriends, and that's how they played down those things. But they actually had whistles that were meant to alert communities and people that there is danger coming, or there is something happening. And so it was banned that in the night, people should not be whistling. The same way, things concerning corruptions and all those things, how we handled it. I can say religion, I don't want to say Christianity, but let me say religion and others have come to corrupt some of these things, and they make us look down on some of our cultural values that are positive. I don't want to be here and say that everything we do or everything we say in Africa is genuine or correct. There are a lot of them. If you find the genuine reasons behind them, you will not look down on some of our cultural practices that were helping us behave and perform in certain ways. So yes, I have followed the discussion by my presentation by my colleague, And so I believe that this is a topic we should revisit. Let's get more people on board. Let's judge all, and let's lift this thing up to a certain pedestal. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Pt3 Kofi. So yes, that is true. We put it on all the various platforms. So the more we can share and invite friends, other people. As a matter of fact, we are expecting people with divergent opinions on this platform, because that's where you can get wisdom. Like we said from the beginning, we don't believe to, or we don't proclaim to have all the answers. That is why we believe in creating this platform for us to discuss. So in the course of the discourse, we will get wisdom. So that is why we always say we don't argue on this platform, we discuss, because argument comes with a fixed mindset. You already have a fixed position and you are trying to convince people to buy into it. But if you are discussing, you share your opinion, you take somebody's opinion, and we look through and sieve through and get the best out of it. So yes, we have to do more by inviting people and getting all kinds of opinions on this platform so we can discuss it. Without much ado, I would want to thank you very much for your time invested in Leadership Academy, because we believe that time should not be spent, time should be invested, and you have invested your time, valuable time, into this program. We really appreciate it. My name is Nana Osei Bonsu Jr. of CERTO Leadership International and AfriWeek International Organization. We are going to be here same time next week. My co-host, Professor Kojo Ewa Frimpong. We had a guest today, Mr. Papa Abeku. I mean, this man, okay, I'm not going to say it. We'll talk about that some other time.
Yeah, he should help. He's in the media space. So we need to tap into his leanings. And
I know.
what Kofi said, I've come to understand that there are a lot of things that sell, especially for things. We need to get, some momentum, and we are working on it. We all need to bring our experience to bear on this program. Yes. I'm very happy he talked about that, the number of people. I mean, when we share it on YouTube and Facebook later, people call us and talk about, we need to have people on the discussion.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point.
Yeah. And
so I want to suggest something. There's an app called StreamYard. I don't know if you guys use it. What you can do is, I can walk you through it later on.
Okay.
So you can just stream this discussion straight on StreamYard and link it live on Facebook. So we'll have people just watching. Not everybody will want to comment, but they can just sit back and watch.
Right.
Whilst those who want to comment can have the link to be a part of the discussion as well.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I'll walk you through how to do that. It's pretty easy.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's why you are needed here. All right, Mr. Pt3 Kofi, thank you so much too for your time invested. We'll meet same time next week. We're going to continue the discussion on corruption in Africa. Same time next week, 3 p.m. Stay safe and be blessed. Bye-bye.
All right.